Hello from the other side of the world and the beautiful island of Cyprus.
How are you? I'm jealous. I wish I was there.
And you told me you've been here before, and I was very surprised.
Yes, I have. Thank you.
It's an honor to have you with me today.
Thank
And before I start, I want to give a short background about you to those who are not familiar with your work. You immigrated to the USA from Belarus with your family when you were a baby, with your parents who were chasing the American dream, and you became the American dream. You have been a successful entrepreneur since you were 8 years old, and eventually took over your father's wine store business and turned it into a multi-million-dollar venture. And after you became an expert selling wine, online and offline, you became an expert helping people sell anything online through e-commerce and social media, and you built another empire there. And you created 2 best-selling books, Crush It and The Thank You Economy, and now you've just launched your 3rd book. And at the same time, you're running your own social media branding agency, Vaynerchuk, which helps Fortune 500 companies find their social voices and build their digital brands through micro content and other storytelling actions. You're also an angel investor in notable startups. And in fact, you've just reached 1 million followers on Twitter, right? And some people call you the godfather of social media. And I know that you do answer personally to your tweets because this interview was arranged through a tweet. And I just wonder, how does somebody manage their time to do all these things?
Well, thank you for the intro. You know, I have to give up on things, right? Time is not unlimited. So, you know, I have less time to exercise. I have less time to go to baseball games or hang out with my buddies and drink, or, you know, go to wine tastings. You know, I'm just working harder and more often and efficiently. And so that's how, you know, I mean, hard work is, as a Russian immigrant, you know, coming to this country with nothing, it's been very easy for me to work hard because I watched my parents work hard. There was no other option. It's the way that you get things. And that's what I've focused on.
So it's hard work.
It's hard work. There's, you know, it's such a, Pavlina, you know, it's such a simple, cliche answer, but it's the truth. To answer the question you just asked me, how do I do it? I do it because I'm working 16 to 18 hours a day.
Okay, and well, it's my birthday today, okay, 23rd of October, and you are my birthday treat. 20 minutes with Gary Vaynerchuk, and I get to ask you whatever I want. So,
that's right.
And I know thank you. And I know you're a Scorpio too, and so we're both determined Scorpios, and I get you. And my wish today for my birthday is to become like you, as successful as you, in the next 1 to 5 years in my business. I'm in the seminars and coaching business. And I would like to ask you, what steps should somebody take to become a very successful entrepreneur, having a multi-million-dollar business, and being a globally recognized brand at the same time? What tips can you give me?
So a couple of things. Number one, you have to know what you want to sell, right? So I want leverage. So I'm thinking very long term. I'm thinking 20, 30 years from now. And so I'm thinking about what I want to sell 20 years from today. And so I'm taking the steps. So the steps for me to sell something 20, 30 years from now is a couple things. I want to sell product, like bubble gum or water, like product. I'm a retailer at heart, right? I grew up in the wine business. So now I have an agency that works with Fortune 500 companies like Dove and Mountain Dew and, you know, PepsiCo, and I'm learning a lot about corporate America where people sell $4, $5, $6 billion brands. I'm learning. So I'm being patient. I'm building a business with the idea of learning. I'm writing books. I just got this. This is exciting. I'm telling you first. I'm the cover of Inc. this month, right?
Wow.
You know, I'm doing those things. I'm doing this interview. This is going to get me millions of people. This interview is going to get me hundreds of people, maybe thousands. I don't know how many people follow you, right? But the question is that even if it's just for you, one person, it's building your brand with people to have leverage to do what you want to do in the future. So I know that I want to sell product in the future, so I'm making the steps to sell product. selling books for me is not about selling the books. It's about the leverage it gives me to sell what I want to do later. So, Pavlina, you basically have to decide what you want to sell short-term and long-term. If you want to sell seminars, more of them for more money, you need to build your brand. If you want to sell yourself so that you can actually get public speaking engagements, well, then you need to build your brand. And so if you want to do that, well, then you need to guest blog more. You need to put out more content. You need to build your brand. So some people want to be famous and use that fame to make money. Some people don't want to be famous and just want to sell their seminars for a lot of money. So the first piece of advice I'd give you is think about what you want in 5 years, what the perfect way to make money would be for you. Would it be speaking 30 times a year?
So let's say I've thought about what I want. So now I have to take the steps.
So what do you want to happen in 5 years?
Oh, I have to say it to everyone?
So
yeah, I want my seminars business to grow, let's say globally, and I want to build my personal brand too. It's both are important to me.
Do you want to build your personal brand so that your seminars attract more dollars and users, or do you want to do something else that you feel is easier to make money? Like, I get paid outrageous amounts of money to publicly speak. I mean, that's a really important question. Because
I believe building a personal brand is very important because then you can sell anything around your brand. I can sell my seminars around my brand because people trust Pavlina. So my brand is number one. So the point is, how do I build it as big as your brand?
Well, I think it comes down to a couple things. Number one, I think a lot of people forget why my brand got big, because I actually built a $75 million business first before I ever came out. So the best way to build a brand is to do, right? If your seminar business becomes enormous, and it's chicken and egg, right? What comes first, right? If you build a brand, your seminar business gets big, you know. So one thing that I always caution people is they look at my story over the last 7 years without looking at the 15 years before, right? So the number one thing is doing is great. You know, Jack Dorsey's personal brand's much bigger now because Twitter went on to become big, you know, and so that's important. But I would do a lot of content. Pavlina, the number one thing that I think builds a personal brand is exposure. And so I would pick the blogs that you think are important, the media sites that you think are important, and you go out and blog for them or video blog for them for free. Distribution is what you need. So just blogging on your blog, just putting out content on your seminar page, just doing these kind of things for your world, that relies on the people that follow you to distribute it. And they will if it's good content. But the best way to do is take control of it and go out and get your own distribution. So going out and finding people that will let you blog on their site because they need content, I think is the number one way to do this.
Okay, thank you.
Speaking for free, traveling to parts around, you know, the island and going around Europe and speaking for free. I spoke for free.
In the beginning.
Once I spoke for free, it created opportunities. So I think it's a lot of hard work up front that you then get rewarded with on the back end.
Okay, thank you. In my country, Cyprus, I have a question for my country now, that something's close to my heart. We're currently being hit by the largest financial recession we had since we remember, the last 40 years at least. And there are two main issues. One, a big percentage of young people find themselves unemployed, and they just call themselves unemployed, and they don't know what to do, they're desperate. And two, many people see their businesses collapsing, and their business income is cut to more than half what it was a few months ago, before the bank crash. What would you advise those young people to do in this financial environment? And what would you advise the business owners to do so that they can become profitable again?
So it's very hard to answer these questions because you're speaking in general terms. And the true answer to your question is I'd have to literally talk to every individual person and every individual business to understand what they actually need. But I would tell them to understand that the whole world is predicated on supply and demand. That if they're not bringing any value to the table to people, their business is going to be in trouble. If they're not delivering a value proposition or a necessity, they're in trouble. So when you get into a recession, you know, it becomes dominoes, right? People are out of jobs, so they're not going to merchants. It becomes dominoes. I mean, listen, there's a lot of tough answers to your question. One tough answer is to move and go somewhere else. that's a tough answer. You don't want to hear that because everybody, they don't want to hear that because they love their country, they love their island, da, da, da. The other thing is to get very entrepreneurial. The internet doesn't care where you are, right? So, you could be building a business on the beach very easily. And so I think the first thing to do is it's a mentality. It's understanding that you need to think about, I think too many people are think about it as oh, woe is me. I'm so unlucky. I'm during this bad depression. I wish I was born 20 years from now or 20 years ago. The world doesn't care about your problems. Everybody has problems. So understanding that your problems are your problems and not some bad luck, and understanding that you're in control of fixing it is the number one step, right? Anybody can go to WordPress or Medium in your country and start blogging and start creating content and start becoming the community. Anybody can go to twitter.com/search and start answering people's questions and getting involved and networking. So, it's an attitude. It's an attitude of understanding that, yes, it's not great, but most of the fortunes are made in the world when times are bad, not when times are good.
Yeah, it's a shift of mindset.
It's a shift of mindset.
Yeah.
And listen, everybody has their own issues, right? You may have a 24-year-old that sitting here watching this right now and says, yeah, that's easy for you to say, rich guy in America. Well, my father's sick. My mother is in the hospital. I've got to take care of my dog. So every individual thing is different. But what I do know is, where I get upset is when people complain and say they're unemployed and they're fishing and they're watching television and they're at the bar and they're not using every minute trying to get out of that situation.
Yeah, exactly. What do you believe are the main limitations that people have with regards to achieving business and financial success? What separates people who start from scratch and go on to achieve big things like you with people who have skills, have education, have the drive, all these unemployed people in Cyprus, but however they strive and sometimes for a lifetime without managing to break through a certain basic income level?
Two things. One is talent. Listen, I want to be a basketball player and play professionally. I'd much rather do that than this. I'm just not good enough. So a lot of people, you can go to the best school in the world, but if you're not a good businessman or woman, well, you're not going to win. So the true answer to your question is, number one is talent. Number two is mentality. I do not think I'm successful right now. And I think there's too many people that think things are below them. For example, most of my friends, Pavlina, the other famous internet people, think that when I do stuff like this, that I'm an idiot. They're like, Gary, you have no time to, you didn't do this, you didn't do that. I mean, you had no time to do an interview with the New York Times, you had no time to sell more books, you have a book coming out in 5 weeks, this, that, and the other thing, and you're giving an interview to Pavlina for 20 minutes. Are you out of your mind? That's what people think. And you understand, right? Because time is the only thing that we have, right? And I'm sure you've been asked to do things that you didn't have time for because they weren't big enough or audience wasn't big enough, right? But I never think I'm that special. And so I think a lot of people that get caught is they think they're better than sweeping the floor at a merchant or working at a seminar to record the video, or they just think they're special, or they think that the work is beneath them. I never think the work is beneath me.
That's it. Yeah. So you give a lot of attention also to personal contact with people and with your customers and with your audience, and you work very hard. You never take anything for granted. About success, you mentioned the talent, and you talk a lot about entrepreneurial DNA, and you believe this DNA and this talent is important in a person succeeding. But how does a person really know if they do have talent to be a successful entrepreneur? How does somebody know what they're talented in general, so that they don't waste their time?
I think the best way they do it is, you never know you're something until you do it, right? I didn't know I was a good speaker until I spoke, and I was 32 years old the first time I spoke. And now, I'm known for that, right? So, to answer your question is, I don't know, other than have they tried to do it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. You try to do things and you see that what you're good at and what people respond to better, maybe? Mm-hmm.
100%. You know.
Yeah. What is the most important thing that entrepreneurs, if you would give one advice today in today's economy, in the crisis, to be profitable? What is the most important thing that businesses should do?
They should pay attention to innovation, right? They need to understand that we're innovating faster than ever, and they can't disregard new platforms and new situations. So the number one piece of advice I have is don't become romantic about how you're making your money. You know, because if you think that it's great and this is the way I make it, you can get caught. I think about, taxi drivers and limo black car drivers in New York and Los Angeles. They were making a lot of money a year or two ago, and now there's a new app in America called Uber, and it's going to put them out of business because it's iPhone, it's an app, and your car comes to you. And so, I would say not being romantic, never being complacent. Mm-hmm. That's where people get caught.
Always innovate.
Always innovate. Always try to put yourself out of business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because if you don't, somebody else will.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Many people come and ask me, especially around the age of 30 years now or younger, to help them find what they should do in life to be successful, combining things that they love to do with things that they're good at. So how does a person find what they're really passionate about and what they're really, the talent I asked you before, so that they can pursue the career that will help them reach their full potential? How do you find your passion? Yeah.
I think that the only way to find passion is honesty. A lot of people think that what they're passionate about is an actual business, when it is in today's world. A woman that loves gardening, a man that loves fishing, a woman that loves fishing, a man that loves gardening, they don't give thought to, wait a minute, my gardening could become this amazing blog and I can sell fresh fruit from it one day. They just think it's a hobby, not a passion, and so they get stuck because they're always thinking, I got to create a passion that is business practical. Mm-hmm. But, that's not the way it is. So I would tell you honesty, like being honest about what you love and what you're into, and then executing around it.
Okay, thank you. And last question, after your two bestsellers, Crash It and The Thank You Economy, you have a new book, How to Tell Your Story in a Noisy Social World. Who should read your book, and what is the main takeaway that you can give us from the book if we were to say one important piece of advice?
So, I have the galley. The book's not out yet, but this is the galley, which is not the actual book. In the book, I show people specific pictures and posts on Facebook and Twitter, right, of companies and individuals, entrepreneurs, putting out, content, right? This is Twitter. This book is a utility. Thank You Economy was a thesis. This is a utility. I want this book by every single person's, computer, and this teaches everybody how to put out content for Facebook, Twitter, Google+, LinkedIn, Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, because how you put out content on those sites matters. So this book is for everybody, which is why I'm excited. It's for individuals, it's for you, it's for Inc. magazine, it's for Aquafina, the water brand, billion-dollar water brand. It's for everybody because everybody has to tell their story where their customer is. Our customers are now on these websites. I give the blueprint of how to put out stories on those sites. So the main takeaway is jab, 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 right hook, is give, 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 and then ask. How to actually sell stuff. How does Pavlina put out content on her Facebook page that actually brings value, so that the sixth piece of content is sign up for my seminar. Not everything is sign up for my seminar. Понимаешь? Get it?
Yes. Okay. Well, I hope to see you in Cyprus soon. There are many Russians here.
I'm looking forward to it.
We have very nice wines in Cyprus. I don't know if you know the wines.
I know it very well.
Yes, I have a friend who was sending you wines from Cyprus, he said.
Very nice.
So, thank you, and hope to see you soon. Have a great day.
And happy birthday.
Thank you.
And I'll look for your email.
Thank you. Bye-bye.